Jamel, I'd love to ask you about the book Uphill. One of the things that you address is how the last administration, President Trump, White House, tried to get you fired, and how you received death threats and all sorts of negative attention after saying something that was speaking truth to power. But talk about the book, if you could, and how your background, in a way, and a lot of the challenge that you faced very early on in life prepared you for tough moments.
Yeah, it's interesting because a question I was often asked as I was going through the controversy after saying what I said about Donald Trump, about him being a white supremacist, everybody around me was sort of freaking out, like, oh, do you know what this means? And the target that is now on your back. And I certainly understood that, yes, it put a particular target on my back, especially once the White House addressed these comments. But when I think about the scope of my life and everything that I've been through, Donald Trump coming after me, the White House coming after me, former Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying I deserve to be fired, it wouldn't even rank in the top 20 of worst things that I've experienced or that have happened to me, or some of my worst moments or most trying moments that I've had to, really go through and experience. I mean, I'm the child of two recovering addicts. You know, I grew up in Detroit in the blanket of poverty. I experienced a lot of other things, and that's really the bulk of what Uphill is about. It's a story of perseverance, of triumph, and what I have said to people in terms of what I want them to take away from it is that your circumstances do not dictate the life that you imagine for yourself. And mine never did. And so I'm here as an example of what can be unearthed from a lot of pain and struggle. There's purpose still even within those tough moments. So as much as people may know me from being the woman on ESPN that Donald Trump attacked, there's so much more to my life than that. And I said at the time that if that is the leading sentence in my obituary, I have failed, if it has anything to do with Donald Trump.
Hey, Jamel, congrats on the book, and certainly excited to read a remarkable story. Why don't you get your take as how you assess right now the intersection of sports and politics? Obviously, we just talked about Donald Trump. He took aim at Colin Kaepernick. The idea of kneeling during the national anthem was a major story for a long time, one that has faded from the headlines. The NFL seems to be more popular than ever. Give us your assessment right now about where things stand between these two worlds that so often intersect.
Those worlds have always collided. They've always been intertwined. And so when we went through this period where there was this false idea that they never did, it was mostly based off who was saying it, what feelings they were invoking. And you using Colin as an example is perfect. I should mention I'm actually the executive producer on his documentary that'll be coming out on ESPN, a part of their 30 for 30 series. And so I've been able to sit down with him at numerous times and just talk about his story and what that meant. But listen, sports in many ways has been ahead of where the rest of the country is. We have to remember when Jackie Robinson integrated Major League Baseball. This was 1947. That was a full 20 years before we got the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. We have seen sports really be an opportunity for people to maybe hear different viewpoints or maybe understand politics in a different way, because we're a very segregated country still. We don't worship together. A lot of us stay in our particular groups and, when we socialize, where we work. But the one thing that brings us all together is sports, because you can have a bunch of people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different races, different genders, it doesn't matter. But if you guys all love the Lakers, then that's the thing that brings you together. So maybe in that way, when LeBron makes a political statement, you might hear it differently because it's coming from an athlete that you already admire and are a fan of.
The new book is Uphill, a memoir. Jemele Hill, thank you very, very much for coming on, and congratulations for the book.